What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Broad Street Boys. And today, I can't believe we finally made it. We're talking about the Eagles. We're talking about the NFL football season. I'm so excited. But today's all is literally just going to just be about kind of things to look out for during training camp. So training camp's officially started, and I kind of waited until we were, more into training camp overall to even do this episode. But I'm really excited to talk about, I don't know, football. I'm so ready for it to be back. And team is different, definitely, especially without AJ Brown. So the offense can look way different with a brand new scheme, which I'm going to talk about in depth coming up here, which is going to be fun. And all of these things I'm going to tell you are coming from either my opinions or the things I've seen on Twitter, Elliott Shore Parks, Instagram, people like within the social media world, and I'm going to give you my take on all of those. But it's basically going to be a giant episode of kind of things to look out for, as we kind of go throughout training camp, and we're going to be against the Patriots soon, with the joint training camp, which is going to be insane considering AJ is now on the Patriots. That's going to be funny. But it's going to kind of be things to, I don't know, take a note of during training camp. And I'm super excited to talk about football finally. I know I just said it, but I'm itching to get back to football. I haven't really felt like this before. Whether it's NFL or college, I love the college games. Well, I'm just so ready to get back to football, and I'm ready for the fall. So it should be fun. And maybe I'm just sick of watching the Phillies. Maybe that's what it is, and that very well could be it. Okay. So we're gonna talk about 4 things, but really there's a lot more within all those 4 things. But number 1 here, we're gonna talk about the wide receiver 3 battle. And that might be the most fascinating kind of progressing story of the entire Eagle training camp. Who's going to be wide receiver 3 and maybe even 2 as well? Even though I have a feeling who 2 is going to be based on a lot of things, and I'll get to that in a second. The second thing I got here is that Mannion system. I was talking about that West Coast motion offense and how that's going to be interesting to see considering Jalen Hurts hasn't done that and isn't super used to it, so that'll be interesting. But also, I've liked his attitude about it, which is something also to take a note of. And then next, I'm going to talk about Lane Johnson possibly being gone, and along with the impact of the O-line. So I'm going to start with the offense, because the offense I think has the most question marks for sure. And then after that, I'm going to end it with the defense, because the defense has been, I don't know if everybody's been, I don't know, keeping up with social media, but the defense has been killing the offense. It's been crushing the offense. I'm going to talk about why and just some players and units that need to be impactful in order to keep the Eagles in games and just a win overall. So number 1 here is the wide receiver battle. I mean, obviously, I feel like it's not crazy to say that Devonta Smith is going to be number 1. And I think he's going to have a really big year. I think Devonta Smith was pretty good in his rookie year as the number 1 wide receiver. But also, that was also his rookie year. He was super raw at the time. I think he's kind of found out who he is as a wide receiver. So he's going to be awesome as a wide receiver 1. And I really think he's ready for it. His preparation and I don't know, his mindset, I feel like is so wide receiver 1 to me. So I'm very excited to see that. But the bigger conversation is who is going to be 2 and 3. I think 2 is going to be Dontavion Wicks for a few reasons, which is also why this, I guess, talking points more towards the wide receiver 3 part, because I think Dontavion Wicks is definitely going to be the number 2 for a few reasons. Size, the guy's huge, and Jalen Hurts, from a ton of reports from Elliott Shore Parks, a bunch of other people at actually training camp have said that Wicks and Hurts have had a really good connection, both as friends and then along with on the football field. Jalen's been throwing deep balls to Dontavion Wicks, which is great to see. Obviously, he's not AJ Brown or his level or something like that, but seeing him kind of play I guess if X is the 1 but the Z, which is the other outside, that'll be interesting to see, because it's, again, so different. He wasn't on the team last year, so that'll be fun to see. And I feel like Dontavion Wicks the past 2 years, I feel like he's due to kind of break out too. He's got all the physical attributes that you really want. He can catch. He's fast. He's big. Like that's really what you want out of a outside wide receiver. So that's gonna be fun. I think it'll be more of like the deep ball guy, which will be fun to kind of see. But the main conversation here is definitely wide receiver 3. This is going to be an interesting battle, and it's already an ongoing battle as well. It's between Hollywood Brown, Darius Cooper, and Elijah Moore for me. Sorry, Johnny Wilson. I just think you're a little too slow, in my opinion. I really hope you're proving wrong, but because you're huge. But I think it's between those 3: Hollywood, Cooper, and Moore. I will say, just to start off, I think, honestly, might come as a surprise to a lot of people. I think Darius Cooper is going to be the Eagles' wide receiver 3 come game 1 for just a few reasons. Number one, he has a little bit of experience playing the slot, and that kind of comfortability, I think, means a lot, especially in this type of offense. And wait, also, I did mention Mekhi Lemon. Because Mekhi Lemon would be the Y and he would be the slot guy, but I'm just going to say out that I don't know if he's going to play game 1. He hasn't really practiced at all. And I feel like if anything, he's just going to be really good next year. And that's kind of disappointing considering we used a first round pick on him, but Mekhi Lemon is such a talent. It's like hilarious. So I feel like if there's someone that's going to come back from this, it's going to be Mekhi Lemon. So that's why I'm not really mentioning Mekhi Lemon. I just want to put that out there, even though I really like him as a player. But I think this might be Darius Cooper's spot. I really do. I mean, he's got all the physical attributes. He's very AJ Brown-like. He's a really wide player. He's super strong, has great hands. And I feel like the more I think about it, and the more, I guess, I'm thinking about why I think he's going to be wide receiver 3. Number one, Jalen Hurts is throwing to him a lot over the middle. And this offense is all about throwing over the middle and motion. And I feel like Darius Cooper is one of the best guys on this team for that outside of Mekhi Lemon. Just to put this strong guy in motion within the slot, move him around from side to side, kind of see the coverages that if you're Jalen Hurts, kind of seeing the coverages. I feel like Darius Cooper has the attributes to do that. And number 2, which I feel like people aren't really talking about why he's succeeding so much, but comfortability. Like Darius Cooper was here last year. None of these guys were, other than Devonta Smith. So Darius Cooper, this is now year 2 of Darius Cooper actually taking reps with Jalen Hurts. I feel like that's finally kind of coming out, and he's looking really good. Jalen Hurts, I feel like one of the most important things that Jalen Hurts has to have with a wide receiver is that trust, because it's no secret that he probably could have threw it to AJ Brown down the field way more often, and which would have proved a lot of AJ Brown's points that he was open a lot. But Jalen Hurts doesn't like to take risks, and that's okay. That's just the quarterback he is, and that's fine. But I feel like the fact that he's not taking risks, but kind of trusting Darius Cooper over some other players, I feel like kind of shows you a lot about their connection. Maybe they're friends in real life, but or not, and they just kind of think similarly football wise. But I feel like he's definitely someone that I think is going to have a pretty big impact if Mekhi Lemon doesn't play, especially. Or I think Mekhi Lemon is going to play. By the way, I just don't think it's going to be as normal, regular as it usually should be. He's not going to be in there all the time, because I'm pretty sure it's a hamstring injury, which is never good. And that's all, that's the worst. So that'll be interesting. Hollywood Brown is someone I think is going to play more, is going to sub in more on the outside, depending on either the coverages or the subs. I could see him coming in a lot for Dontavian Wicks, just on the outside, especially if Brown kind of starts off hot within the season. I just don't think he's going to be the solidified number 2 early on for a few reasons. A, he's got a very similar build to Devonta Smith, so having 2 smaller guys on the outside and then Mekhi Lemon probably, or Darius Cooper on the inside is a little small, size wise. And then also he doesn't have that connection with Hurts that it seems like Dontavian Wicks has already grown, and then also his current teammates from last year with Devonta and Darius Cooper. So those are my thoughts there. And then Elijah Moore could be sneaky. Elijah Moore has been good in the past. I actually hope he makes the team because then he can get some reps in there. Because Elijah Moore is really fast and he is a primarily slot wide receiver. I feel like that's not crazy to say, but he does play in the slot. He's just not as good or he's not being as consistent, I guess, as Darius Cooper, which is why I think Darius Cooper is going to be our wide receiver 3. And then next, I touched on this briefly, but this offense is going to look way different. I think it's just a total breath of fresh air. And I can tell, and if you've seen Jalen Hurts in any type of press conference or interview or whatever, he just seems, I don't know, a little lighter, like on his mental, and he seems a little happier. And people are trying to spin that in the AJ Brown's gone type of thing. I don't think it's necessarily that. That could be a part of it, but I feel like this offense is totally different from what he's used to, and we all know that he loves to learn, and I think he's starting to like it, and I could tell that he's kind of bought into this idea of the West Coast offense, West Coast motion offense a lot as well, and a ton of reports coming out too that he's under center a lot more, and I wonder if he likes that. He's going to have to if it's a West Coast offense, so he's going to have to because there's a ton of motion pre-snap, and he's going to read the defense and move people around. So that'll be interesting just to watch, from the external, from a fan. So that'll be fun. But it's just a totally different offense. Like if you think about these past few years, nothing's been over the middle. It's all been the short curls or the deep balls to AJ or Devonta. But there hasn't been a whole lot over the middle or crossing routes or short slants where they kind of cross like five yards down, across further from the line of scrimmage. It's a lot of that. And I feel like also, just to kind of bake this in here as I'm talking about this, training camp stats don't really matter. Like if someone tries to convince you that the actual stat itself is important, I mean, I guess it's important, but it holds a ton of value. It just doesn't. Training camp is a time to learn. And Jalen Hurts has not had a whole lot of experience throwing over the middle to these crossing routes. So of course he's not going to have the greatest stats of all time, which is fine. And if anything, I actually appreciate that they're kind of doing things and trying things with Jalen that he hasn't necessarily had a whole lot of experience with before. And I actually like that he's taking these risks and doing these things. Because I think it's going to really help him down the road. So that's something also to take into account. Because do I think Jalen Hurts is a top 12 to 13 quarterback? No, he's probably around 15. Well, at least going into this year, he could move up or down depending on this year. That's just my personal opinion. But it's very predicated on this running game. So it's all about kind of getting Saquon into these gaps and moving him downfield. So that'll be also something to watch with Saquon. Someone else that has been killing it as well as Tank Bigsby. So I wonder if they're going to try to take the wheels off of Saquon a little bit and put Tank in, especially if Tank Bigsby is crushing it. I wonder if that's going to be a thing. Just in general, I mean, Saquon's getting to the time point in his career where you don't want to kind of put him into harm's way by running him into the ground again, 2024, which is fine. Even though he is awesome and a top 4 running back in the league, in my opinion. And that's fine, and yeah, so basically West Coast offense, a lot of under center, a lot of crossing routes, a lot of play action, a lot of Saquon Barkley, which is great. It's just, you notice everything I just said there is something that didn't happen really last year. Other than the Saquon part, but the offensive line stunk. And that leads me into talking about the offensive line and the fact that Lane Johnson said he's proud. This is his probable last year or something like that. This is definitely his last year. I had a weird feeling when he wasn't at practice for a whole week, and they didn't really say why. Didn't really get many questions about it, and I thought that was weird. And yes, he could have been home in Oklahoma. I think that's where he lives, and just doing whatever. But he was there, and he was talking about retiring. And listen, if Lane Johnson does retire, I do not blame him in the slightest. If anything, I'm actually happy for him because he's been here forever, and he's been one of the best right tackles of all time in Eagles history specifically. and he's been here for both Super Bowls. He's been a huge part of both of those, and especially the just overall, I guess, culture. I think Lane Johnson has a big part in that. With that being said, that is a huge spot to fill, and I hope that he kind of told Howie / Nick / Jeffrey Lurie this beforehand, that he was at least thinking about it. And not that he was actually going to do it, but like he was just thinking about it, so that got it on their radar, because one of our biggest kind of question marks is this offensive line. Our offensive line was not good and hurt all last year. Landon Dickerson has the knees of like a 60-year-old and can't stay on the field, which is sad, which makes me sad because he's such a good player when he's like on a roll. Mailata was Mailata. He was good, but like he didn't have a whole lot of help from everybody else. And Jurgens was average or maybe below average. Tyler Steen got bulldozed all the time. And then there was Lane Johnson / Fred Johnson. And I actually like Fred Johnson as a backup. That's like someone that I actually kind of trust. But at the same time, like if Lane gets hurt and Johnson has to play, then I do not feel good at all about any of the options after. I mean, Fred Johnson is okay, but like after Fred, like who are we gonna put in? Trevor Keegan? Like no. Like it's a really weird, because I feel like for the past X amount of years, like the Eagles have always kind of been like, I guess, prideful of their depth at offensive line, and this year it's just nothing. Outside of these top 5 guys, I'll put Johnson in there, or Fred Johnson in there at 6, and yeah, that's one of the biggest question marks I think for this offense specifically, but also this team overall. So I definitely feel like it's good to mention that. Definitely keep an eye on how they're kind of playing against this D-line. And then now, so that was all I got for the offense, and it's the whole offense. But keep in mind, wide receiver 3 battle and offensive line struggles / hopefully they get better. And then the West Coast offense. And then now for the defense is absolutely eating the offense. But this also could be for a few reasons. A, they're trying things out on offense, and they're trying like this quicker huddle type of thing, which makes sense. Makes perfect sense. They're just trying new things. Awesome. But also this defense is just so good. They're just so good. And they just paid Jalen Carter a lot of money, which for me, like, I always liked that. I always liked Jalen Carter, but I think one of his biggest issues was his effort that he gave. And I feel like he would tell you that too. So I need to see like real effort out of Jalen Carter, and not like giving up on plays and doing all that stuff, because he got paid a ton of money, which means for me personally, my expectations for him, if they were here, they're going to be way higher. So I need him to dominate games, and not just dominate like 2 games. I need you to dominate like 4 or 5 games. Be like Jalen Carter was an impact player there, because there were a few games where he was just invisible, and we probably lost those games, or it was really close. Which is why Jordan Davis was the best player on that defensive line all last year. That's not crazy to say out loud. So those 2 are definitely players to watch. Jonathan Grenard, whenever he comes back from injury, I think he's going to be a stud. I feel like people don't really understand how good Jonathan Grenard is, just because of kind of stuck on the Vikings, on and off with injuries, yada yada yada. But he is a stud edge rusher. You will learn Jonathan Grenard's name. And then Nolan Smith. This is a big year for Nolan Smith as well, coming up on a contract year. I'm not quite sure if this is his contract year or if it's the year, it's like next year, but it's a big year for Nolan Smith if he wants to A, make legit money, or B, like be a real impact player. You need to stay healthy, and you need to be consistent in how you play. Now I will say this is the only kind of question mark on this defense for me. Actually, no, there's 2, but the big one, like the really big one, is how is Jahad Campbell going to play? The overall kind of impact of Jahad Campbell, I feel like no one is talking about. Because basically last year, Nakobe Dean beat him out for that spot, which is cool. And Nakobe Dean deserved it. Nakobe Dean was awesome, which is why he got paid. And now he's in, I believe it's Las Vegas, with the Raiders, which is great. But how will Jahad Campbell kind of fill that spot of Nakobe Dean, who is a leader and an impact player? I feel like you would say, oh my God, what a tackle by Nakobe Dean, what a coverage by Nakobe Dean, what a what an interception, I don't know. I feel like Nakobe Dean had some sort of impact on every single game, especially the wins. And I need to see that type of impact from Jahad Campbell. And I know this is year 2, so I'm not putting too much pressure on him, but like he's filling some shoes. He's filling some serious shoes. So definitely a player I have my eye on, and just in general, because he's going to play all inside linebacker and not be on the edge at all, which is fine. But that's going to be different for him as well, because he's going to be playing the Nakobe Dean spot of kind of filling the holes and tackling guys. So which is awesome. And Jahad Campbell physically has the attributes to do that. It's just, can he fill those shoes successfully compared to what Nakobe Dean's production was last year? So that's definitely a huge question mark for me. And then another thing on the defense that people aren't really talking about is who is going to take those safety spots. So Reed Blankenship is gone, and there's reports, and I believe this, that Cooper DeJean is going to be one of the safeties. But who's going to step up to be that second safety or the nickel is one of the biggest questions. Michael Carter, I feel like, is someone that's so slept on. I believe did we trade, who was it? Was it Kenny Pickett we traded for him and someone else? But from the Jets, was really solid on the Jets, and apparently was doing really well in training camp. I would love to see him kind of take over that spot and be either the nickel or the safety, because our cornerbacks are nasty. It's Quinyon Mitchell and Tariq Woolen, which is awesome. They're so good. Like, I'm so excited to watch them. But that's definitely something interesting, and I'm also interested to see how Coop actually plays at safety too. So definitely something to keep an eye on. And I guess that's a slight shift in Fangio's kind of, not necessarily a shift in his scheme, but in a shift of kind of how he's going to play, just because there's not as much depth there. And Reed Blankenship, I feel like, was everybody knew Reed Blankenship because of the exciting whites and, all of that fun stuff. And he was a really solid player, but he was really important for leadership. And I want to see Cooper DeJean kind of take over that spot in leadership wise. And I want to see him lead by example and just kill it, because physically and only playing the game, he is awesome. Like, Coop is fantastic, but I want to see that leadership from Coop, because you are so good. Like, I want you to kind of take guys under your wing now and kind of help them out and show them what you've done successfully, and show them, I don't know, like, how to replicate that in their own way. I think that's something super underrated too about this training camp. And then the last thing is kind of, I just want to see what Nick Sirianni has in the bag. Like, I want to see more of a Nick Sirianni positive impact than negative. This is now, you've now been coaching for a while, right? Like, I don't want to see these weird like tush pushes 4th and 2 or something like that. Like, I want to see consistent, just good decisions, or decisions that have some meaning behind it. I want consistency with that, because I feel like there's always a string of 3 games where you're like, Nick, it's 4th and 6 on the 40 on their 46. Like what are you doing? So, and then they'll run the ball. You're like, what is happening? Like, I want to see more consistency there, and I also want to see more consistency out of Jake Elliott. I feel like this is the make it or break it year for Jake Elliott. People forget how bad he was at the end of last year, literally leaving points on the board. I think it's a huge year for him, even though he is a Super Bowl champion, and I will be the first one to tell you that. And honestly, an Eagles legend, pushing it at least. He's great. He's been a great kicker for a long time, but last year and the year before, he was really bad. And I feel like no one's talking about that. So I want to see more consistency out of Jake Elliott, or at least the play calls, just in general, from Nick Sirianni on 4th down. So that's all I got for you guys today. That is everything you need to know when either reading things about training camp or watching podcasts like this, or watching the preseason games. Watch out for all these players, depending on how much they play as well. So keep an eye on pretty much all of this, and you should feel very comfortable going into the NFL season. And just, we have 5 more Sundays. That's crazy. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching today. Check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and on all of our social media stuff like that. If If you're watching on Spotify, or if you're listening on Spotify, thank you. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you. If you want to do the opposite next time, the option's available. I will see you in the next one. The next one will probably be about either the Sixers or Phillies, probably the Phillies, because they are something right now. And hopefully I can get Caleb on because we need to talk post-deadline Phillies. So keep an eye out for that. I will see you in the next one. Go Birds.